You never have the guts to admit when other Christians are wrong. You never have the guts to admit when other Christians are wrong. I know that's not an argument as to whether or not Christianity is true, but if you want me to be a Christian, you're telling me to be part of a club that includes Mark Driscoll and Pat Robertson and Rick Warren. And Ted Haggard and so on. Why the hell would I want to do that?
Author and commentator C.J. Whirlman just came out with a book called Atheists Can't Be Republicans, and his thesis is essentially, well, atheists can't be Republicans. And the basic gist of his argument goes like this. When it comes to religion, we know Republicans and atheists don't mix. They're overwhelmingly religious, and they tend to oppose church-state separation. Atheists really want nothing to do with that. Republicans want nothing to do with us. We know that. That's not a surprise.
I want to talk about some of the common misconceptions a lot of people have about evolution. Now here's your disclaimer. I am not a scientist. But I do know how to read.
And you can get messed up big time. Who's Gog? Who's Magog? When does Russia attack Israel? Where do they attack them? How long does it last? 7 years to burn the weapons of war. Who makes up the final alliance of the enemy against Israel? There are those that are writing into me and telling me, one man wrote to me and he said, it's way above your head, preacher. Don't you understand that Zionism is the Antichrist? And that it's something to do with whoever's in Israel, that's the Antichrist? He said, that's way above your head. Well, I can read English, so what is it above my head?
And I've studied evolution enough to know that most of the reasons people give for why they don't accept evolution are based in their own ignorance. They just don't understand it. So let's talk about some of these things that they don't get. If evolution is real, then why are there still monkeys? Now, this is a silly question. It's a sign that whoever you're talking to has absolutely no idea how evolution actually works.
You too old to be believing in evolution with your stupid. Evolution say people came from monkeys. And the question is, why is there still monkeys, you dumb you?
Oh, Cat Williams, are you out of your mind? Going on national TV and denying a scientific fact? Man, you look like
They're making two big mistakes. First, they're under the assumption that the way evolution happens is one species just morphs into another one. Evolution isn't linear like that.
Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made.
Is one species just morphs into another one. There's a famous picture you might be familiar with. It's called the March of Progress. It's the one that shows a small primate getting taller and taller and taller until it reaches us, humans. It's a horribly misleading drawing. I mean, it's not like humans are the pinnacle of evolution, and it's not like one species just turns into the next one and then dies off.
And it's a very great pleasure to introduce Jerry Coyne to speak today.
Most scientists also disagree profoundly that intelligent design is a scientific idea whatsoever.
get those nerds! Nerd! Nerd!
The monkeys. Allow me to introduce you to...
So what he's saying is that life started from
nature and then started turning into different kinds of animals. And that's not possible. One animal never changes into another animal. Animals only reproduce after their own kind. People reproduce after people. Monkeys make monkeys. Tadpoles make frogs, or frogs make frogs.
Evolutionary biologist, Professor Richard.
Now they don't turn from ferrets into monkeys. Ferrets reproduce ferrets. There's no proof for a ferret can turn into a monkey.
Dawkins.
People often ask me if we were evolved from monkeys.
Why is there still monkeys?
Well, we're not descended from chimpanzees. We're both descended from...
Well, so he's just lying and saying we both descended from a common ancestor. Now, just making up a story is not science. You have to show something not human reproducing a human. And they haven't shown that. They just say it happened in the past, and that their proof is based on the fact that they can find bones that are similar. So they're using circular reasoning, saying since there are similarities between humans and monkeys, therefore they came from the same ancestor. That's just stupid. You can just as well say since humans and monkeys are different, they do not have the same ancestor, which is the truth, because there is no proof to say otherwise.
A common ancestor who lived there about 6 million years ago. That common ancestor then produced two branches, one of which went...
They made up this lie because so they wouldn't have to answer that question, why is there still monkeys? So right here he's saying there is intermediaries between this subhuman and that there are intermediary species. Say there's 10 intermediary species. So he's saying that these 10 intermediary species all died off. So why did they die off is the question of saying why are there still monkeys. It's saying why are there, what the core of it is, where are these intermediaries? And if the intermediaries were unfit to survive, then why were there less evolved animals down the scale that survived? So that's a faulty argument that the evolutionists. The reason why there's no intermediaries, they don't exist, is because they just never were there. There are no intermediaries.
To us humans, and one of which went to chimpanzees, branching further to produce bonobos and common chimpanzees. We are all cousins. We are not descended.
That's not true. That's just insulting people to say that their cousin is an ape, or that a sub-ape is their grandfather, or so just insulting people is not an argument. It's just calling people names. It's not science.
From chimpanzees. More distantly related are gorillas. They share a common ancestor with both us and chimpanzees. That's the common ancestor.
Underneath our skins, we are all Africans. We are all sons and daughters of a small band of hunter-gatherers that arose in Africa about 70,000 years ago and conquered the world. We're the last surviving hominid.
Yeah, he's just making it all up.
Think you where you come from? As long as you're a black man, you're an African. No matter your nationality, you have got the identity of an African.
You may not know it. This is your family history.
Get those nerds! Nerd! Nerd!
We are just one branch of a huge tree that is still growing. Second, the people who complain that we come from monkeys are usually suggesting that we would therefore act like monkeys. They think that if we come from monkeys, then we are wild and uncivil and hairy and throwing feces everywhere.